Welcome back to another episode of Titans of Foodservice. I'm your host, Nick Portillo, and today I sit down with Laura Chute, the Vice President of Sales for Custom Culinary, a dynamic leader with an impressive 20-plus year tenure in the food service industry. She's based in Orange County, right here in my own backyard. Laura leads with a warmth and professionalism, driving strategic growth and fostering robust client relationships. Her titles reflect her multifaceted role where she orchestrates strategic, analytical, and executional efforts to propel the company's success. With a collaborative spirit, Laura crafts go-to-market strategies across distribution, national accounts, and industrial sales, ensuring both profitability and sustainable growth. Her innovative approaches, combined with her dedication to customer success, makes her a true titan in the food service arena. Let's go ahead and welcome Laura. All right, Laura, welcome to the Titans of Food Service podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on here and meet with me.
My pleasure. I'm excited.
All right. So I know we talked a little off camera. So what I usually like to do is start with what I call the Fiery Five food service questions. They're kind of like icebreaker questions. And are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay. The first one is, if you could have dinner with any one person, either historical or alive, who would it be and why?
For me, it would have to be Anthony Bourdain because one, he's an amazing chef, but I think what Anthony Bourdain does with food is transcend cultures and people, and he found a way to, help us all gather around a table together and experience not just the food. The food was always delicious, but like how he really got to the heart and soul of people, and how he brought people together and maybe demystified a little bit about other cultures that you know he brought into the average American's living room. So I think he would be amazing. Plus, I mean, he would be fun.
That's
Let's just say that.
totally.
You like to eat and drink, he would be the one.
He'd be
So
the
that's my
guy.
answer, and I'm
Yeah,
sticking to it.
great answer. Okay, so I know we both live in Orange County.
Yes.
If someone had one night in Orange County who doesn't live here, where must they eat?
This is going to sound odd, but one of my favorite places to take people, because it's a hotel, and you don't think
Yeah.
there's good food in hotels, but the Surf and Sand Hotel in Laguna Beach is actually, I've always told my husband this, that if I ever run away from home, I'm going to the Surf and Sand Hotel. That way he can find me if I ever did run away. But I love the hotel. I love their Surf and Sand, the restaurant. It feels like the waves are going to just crash onto you.
Mhm.
It's Mediterranean, my favorite type of food. And so that would be my answer.
Great answer. I remember when I first started in the business, when my dad and I, when we started our company, he's like, you got to go out there and drag the bag. And so I literally walked down PCH there in Laguna. I did Newport, some Huntington. And that was one of the places that I stopped into. And I remember being so nervous with my bag of stuff and my line card and great memories there for sure.
Did you sell something?
No, I didn't sell anything. I I didn't know what I was talking about. That was probably within my first 30 days of being in food service sales. That was 9 years ago now. And it's just one of those memories that's like I didn't understand how food service distribution worked. I didn't understand like how the product got from point A to point B. But my dad just really wanted me to go out there and like learn some of these lessons the hard way.
Hmm. Yeah, we're actually bringing on an operator specialist, and it's been a long time
Yep.
since I have brought somebody on. I know in the sales agency side of things, you're probably more adept at that.
Mhm.
We typically hire people that have, quite a bit of experience.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I told her was, "Trust me, you're going to be told no a lot, and just get used to it. Don't take it personally. Like
Mhm.
we're literally setting her up to know." That you're not going to make any sales happen, but you never know. I mean,
No.
but it's better to make somebody, I think, recognize that it's okay to be out there and just have a conversation, and you're probably going to be told no. Okay,
Mm.
that's cute.
Exactly. Exactly. If you could only have one type of cuisine for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Mediterranean for sure.
Mediterranean.
Yeah,
Are there
absolutely.
any foods or dishes you've wanted to try but haven't yet?
Ooh, that's a good question. I am such an adventurous eater. I've eaten almost anything that crawls or comes up out of the ground. I can't think of anything. I mean, I think I've eaten almost everything. I mean, I
Yeah,
couldn't eat
okay.
a scorpion when I was in Thailand. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I've eaten a lot of other weird critters and other weird things. I'd say no, I don't. I've eaten a lot of stuff.
Yeah, okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite food related memory from traveling?
Hmm. Um, Gosh, I travel a lot. I would say probably just my recent trip to Paris. I think I don't speak any French either. So just for clarity, I went to Paris at Christmas with my family, and I just love Paris, and I don't speak any French, and I love French people, and I don't speak any French. And they are so warm and delightful. And I love to see Parisians walk around with their baguettes, sometimes multiple, and sometimes with the little top kind of taken off because that's really hard to resist. But I had the privilege of dining at the Eiffel Tower with my two sons and my husband at Christmas. And one of my sons is in the Peace Corps. And I would not have been able to see him otherwise had we not flown to Paris. So he met us from Marrakesh, and we got to have a beautiful dinner in the Eiffel Tower. And every hour, the tower sparkled. And now, when I see the Eiffel Tower, we also had the corner window, so I literally I look at the window and go, oh, I sat there for 4 hours. I didn't want the meal to end. And it's truffle season in Paris, in France this time of year.
Mhm.
Every dish was loaded with truffle. I mean,
Oh,
it
I'm
was
sure.
truffle on truffle on truffle, so I was pretty happy about that.
What an incredible experience.
Yeah.
I've seen the Eiffel Tower once, and the sparkling at night when it does that, it's one of, I think, the most, iconic things or most memorable things that I've ever seen in my life. It is truly stunning, and for those listening along that have never been, highly recommend it.
This was my 3rd trip to Paris, and I wanna go every year. I wish I could, but I
Mhm,
can't.
mhm.
I had not been in the Eiffel Tower, so if you have that opportunity and you really wanna have a memory, and we didn't exchange gifts or anything, this was really our gift,
Mhm.
um, it's special,
Yeah.
so and doable.
Yeah. Well, thank you for humoring me on the Fiery Five food service questions. Now, for those listening along, maybe a little background on yourself, who you are, how'd you get into the food service industry?
I actually started my food service career at McDonald's when I was 15, and I loved it. And an interesting thing, I recently asked somebody how they knew, and he runs restaurants, and asked him because he had made a comment that he knew how to hire people. And one of the things that I said, well, how do you know if somebody has the hospitality gene, or why would you hire them? And his answer was awesome. It was, they walk with purpose. Like, there's a sense of urgency. And I think that's, McDonald's taught me that, right? You had to get the orders out, and you had to be friendly, and you had to work with others, and you were collaborative. And um, I really loved working at McDonald's. So I put myself through college. And when I got out of the University of Minnesota, which is where I went to college, I interviewed with Land O'Lakes, as well as P&G and Sherwin Williams. And I just couldn't imagine the paint thing. And P&G didn't hire me, and Land O'Lakes said, "Sure, why don't you come to work for us?"
Mhm.
And I had a one-way ticket from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Newark, New Jersey. And a funny note, I got my company car at the airport and was told to find an apartment over the weekend, and I would start my operator job on that Monday. And I had a car accident on Sunday night.
No
That's how I
way.
started my career.
So you started making calls. So you worked in New Jersey, right?
I
Essentially started
did. I
making.
was in Bergen County, and I was supposed to make 10 calls a day, and I was supposed to sell 2 operators per day.
Uh,
And I could never get up to the 10, but my closure rate was really high. It was like 5 to 7. Like I really, really liked walking into restaurants, talking to the owner, and figuring out. And I was at that time, Land O'Lakes was asking us to convert people from butter to country morning blend. So that was how I got started. And I sold those little PC cups
mhm.
and a lot of country morning blend. And then from there, they promoted me into national accounts. And I moved a few times, but I ended up in Orange County. um, I didn't want to move here, and you being a native, you'll probably appreciate this, but I remember landing, and my first thought as we were coming into the OC airport was, wow, everybody has a pool. Like, this is
Yes.
like crazy. Like, I'd never seen anything. I'd never been to California. I was like 23 years old. And I got my rental car. I'm driving down the 405, and I'm seeing the palm trees, and I'm seeing everything's in Spanish and everything is beautiful. And I'm like, I'm never
Mhm.
leaving. I am home. Like,
Mhm.
I knew literally the minute I landed in Orange County that I was never going to leave.
That's so cool. I mean, you're right. The palm trees and the pools and the, oh man, I live here. I've never not lived in Orange County. I moved to Italy for 4 months, so not long term. That's the only time I've not lived in Orange County. I even went to college here as well. I love it, and I love the sun. I've never been in a place that has 4 seasons. It's always just sun,
Well, I
which is
sent
what
my
I go
2
to.
sons away
Yeah.
because I told them, you are living in perfection
Hmm.
and you need to experience something else. So they're both somewhere else right now.
You
Because
mentioned
I
one was in Marrakesh.
One of them is in the Peace Corps
Yeah.
in Morocco. He's actually he's in a small town. And the other one is at Oregon State doing nuclear engineering.
Wow. Um,
Mhm.
he must be very, very smart to do nuclear engineering.
I know. I don't know where he got that either. I can't figure out. Like, he's an anomaly because you do I mean, he sent me some work that he was working on, and it looked like Einstein level stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, he's really smart.
I want to go back to one thing you said when you first started with Land O'Lakes, going
Hmm.
out 10 calls a day, 2 closures. That was kind of what they were looking for
The
and
benchmark.
the
Hmm.
benchmark. And you said that your close rate was pretty high. What do you think, or what are some of the tips and tricks that you've learned along the way in doing that that helped your closure rate?
Land O'Lakes back then had a really good sales training. And I think because, I mean, it was a pretty simple exercise what I was doing. So it wasn't because I was like a sales guru out of the box. I like talking, I like meeting people, and they wanted me to convert butter to country morning blend. And there was a pretty good savings
Mm,
on that, and we had good distribution. So it was really a matter of me being willing to get out there, talk to people, and make the conversion and utilize the sales process that Land O'Lakes taught us. And it was just ripe for the opportunity. I think that was part of it. And I mean, I really liked it. So and I think I was comfortable going into kitchens because I had worked 7 years at McDonald's. So
yeah.
walking into the back of a kitchen, looking, in the old days, they'd say, oh, look in the trash bins to see what they're
Mhm.
doing. None of that was foreign to me. So I think that was part of it. Obviously, as you progress in your career, you get experiences doing different things. I was fortunate to get the experience of working with national accounts, and
Mhm.
again, more coaching, development, and opportunity came my way.
Mhm.
Um, And actually, one of the best experiences I had was after Land O'Lakes, and that was Michael Foods. So, fun fact with Michael Foods, being in Orange County, I was the first regional manager that they hired. And that was when they had just had the patent and they only had two customers. They had Marriott and Burger King, and they had distribution with Cisco. And from that point, they hired a couple directors, and I was the first kind of regional that they hired. And I had to make a decision. Well, I'm a national account manager at Land O'Lakes. Do I want to be a regional manager? And, it was a hard decision at first, but then I thought, if not now, when? When would I
Mhm.
ever have an opportunity to pioneer the sale of something brand new to the industry? And I love that too. That was really, really fun.
Yeah.
And that was a great experience.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. What are some of the learnings that you had from that experience?
I mean, I had a lot of great learnings, but unfortunately, the best learning I had was how not to get burned out. So you can get really excited about doing things and you can work really hard. And, I learned a lot about, I would say, like, how do you look at a market? And I'm pioneering something. Okay, Cisco's my distributor. Who are Cisco's accounts? How do I, incorporate? Because that was before we even had a broker. But I got to hire brokers. I got to learn on the job how to work with a sales agency and how to multiply what I do through an agency, which I think is really fun. And but ultimately, I allowed myself to get maybe a little too um, burned out, and that's, I made the choice to move over to Quaker Oats after that. And I've learned since how to pace myself a little differently, how to
Yeah.
recognize when things need to be adjusted, either for me personally, time off, rest and recovery is something that, look, I think hustle cultures come into question, right? Like everything, in the mid 20, 2010 up until the pandemic was hustle, hustle, hustle.
Mhm.
And I come by that naturally. And I now, coming out of the pandemic, as well as now that I lead a team of 20 sellers, I believe rest and recovery is just as important as hustling. And we can only be our best if we are our best. And that does require rest and recovery. And I think that was one of my better learnings from Michael Foods. And I thought, that was a great experience, though.
I wholeheartedly agree. I always tell my team to take time off, and when you take time off, don't tell your customers or me or anybody that, if you need me, just call me, or I'll be checking emails periodically. Just take the time off, because you'll get more out of that than worrying about, whatever work may come your way in the 2 days you're off or in the week you're off. It's important to take time away, and work is not the end all be all. It's a part of your life, but it's not your total amount of your life. You have friends and family and your personal well-being that you need to take care of as well.
Well, and I think too, as sellers, you know, we need to have a varied interest, right?
Mhm.
Because we connect with people. And one of the best ways to connect with people is to find common ground. And if all you do is work, that how are you going to find common ground around activities, interests, restaurants, and other things that you do? And there's the physical component too. We sit a lot, especially post pandemic.
Mhm.
Having that, the interests and hobbies around, how do you stay healthy and active, and what kinds of things do you do? I think does matter. And on that, as a leader, one of the things we did was create an infographic on, like, how do you take a vacation? You might think, oh, that's weird, Laura. It's actually cool because what we do is we have culture is nothing more than how you choose to do your work, right?
Mhm.
We choose at Custom Culinary to uh, honor rest, recovery, and vacation by covering for each other. So, kind of like if you were going to go on parental leave, it's the same thing.
Mhm.
You have a meeting with whoever's going to cover for you, to tell them what's going on. You use them as your out of office. You have a meeting already on the books for when you come back. That individual is charged with providing you with the emails. we take people off the email string, and I beg people not to chirp in while I'm trying to do something, because you have to trust. I personally have done all their jobs, so I know
Mhm.
I'm capable of doing it. And you have to trust me that I'm capable. And I had a great boss at Michael Foods named Russ Menster who taught me that. And he said, Laura, I've done your job before, so I'm more than capable of handling it while you're gone. You're not that important here. You're right.
Right.
So I think as leaders, we can facilitate that for our team and create a culture that, yeah, your vacation's super critical. Go have
Mm.
fun. We got
Yeah.
this. We got you.
Yeah. Very well said. What is your
So if you
current
want that, I'll send it to you,
I would
by the
actually
way.
like to get that. I think that'd be a really good resource and, something that I'd like to share with my team. Of our
Sure.
4 core values of our company were family first, and I always
Mhm.
tell people within our company that work is always gonna be there, but you need to prioritize your family, your friends first, because that's such an important part of your life. Like, I can only make you so happy coming to work every day. Those types of things are so fulfilling, so don't it is easy to burn out in this industry, to jump from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. I also struggle with that. I get excited about things, and then at the end of it, I'm like, I'm so tired. Like I can't take on. It's like my body finally just shuts down and says, "Nick, you have to take a break." And I don't like to
Well,
get to that point.
yeah, and you made a good point too that, you know, in some regards we can even get addicted to the chaos
Mhm.
or the putting out fires. And then, are we really doing the right work we need to be doing to support our customers' growth or our company's organization if all we're doing is putting out fires and being kind of addicted to the chaos?
For sure. I notice in my personal life, like when my wife and I, let's say we travel overseas or there's something chaotic happening and we need to plan something last minute. Like in those moments, I'm like, I'm so calm. And she's like, how do you do it? I'm like, this is what I do every day. This is the level of stress that you just live under.
Welcome to food service.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So tell me about what your current role is and what your day to day life looks like.
Okay. So I lead our sales team at Custom Culinary. Custom Culinary is a flavor systems company. We do culinary stock, sauces, and gravy for primarily food service, but we're in some retail opportunities as well. And we work across both commercial and non commercial. I lead a team of 20 sales reps. And I've been with the company, you'll see it on LinkedIn, 22 years, which I'm not sure how that happened. You know, but one of the best things about what I do here and the reason that I've stayed so long is because there's just so many opportunities to support customers and to change and to impact business. And there's just, I really love working with a sales team that's growth oriented. And, coming out of the pandemic, that was a little tough. As you know, it was a really hard time. But look at how I think we've even moved past being resilient. Everybody uses the word resilient a lot, and it's a great word, but we're changed. Resiliency kind of implies that you're solid and you're not going to change and you've kind of weathered a storm, right? I think we're better than that. All of us in food service. I think everybody that's gone through it has learned something and maybe feels a little smarter or feels a little bit like, yeah, I can handle the headwinds that are going to come my way because I've done it before. And maybe we're just a little more, you know, open to, again, that creating something out of randomness, creating and operating in uncertainty and chaos, because as I like to say, we're always changing the tire on a moving car. Like that to me perfectly describes food service. And it's I feel very privileged and lucky to have such a great sales team to lead and learn from.
I love that. I love that. We talked off camera a little bit about your philosophy towards sales.
Mhm.
Would like to get your viewpoint on sales in general.
Well, I love sales. I know you can tell that. I think what I love about sales the most is that, if you think about, well, why did you get into selling? Was it because you like selling a widget? Did you like the pace? Did you want to make money? Did you like what prompted you to get into sales? And what for me, it's always been the privilege of being inside someone else's business and trying to help them solve a problem. So, what I've sold throughout the years has not been as important to me, although it's important, and what we sell today is absolutely a blast. Um, it's really that opportunity to help a customer optimize their business, help them create outcomes they're looking for, and really that privilege of being inside someone else's business. And I like to think of sales as super connectors and dot connectors, because if you think about it, you know, you see a lot of different people throughout the course of your day, your week, and your month and your years. You have that privilege. Your customer doesn't. They only know what's right in front of them. So that to me is the super power of a seller. You are literally bringing the outside in, and you're helping create value by showing them, hey, I've got customers that are experiencing something similar to you. Here are some of the things that they're doing. How are you addressing that challenge? And you start having these really good conversations
Hmm.
about, how things work.
Do you think anybody could be a salesperson?
The question, are they born or are they made?
Hmm.
I believe to some extent that everybody can do it, because I actually believe everybody's in sales. So
Hmm.
Daniel Pink wrote a book called To Sell is Human.
Yes.
Did you read it?
I
And
have
it's
never read it, but I have passed by it many times in the at
It's a
Barnes and
really
Noble.
good book, and his whole premise is we're all in sales. Like
Mhm.
one way or another, you have to sell your boss on some idea that you have, or you're an engineer and you've got to sell somebody on utilizing a certain amount of money to fix the plant, or whatever that is. It doesn't matter. You're always, it's the art of influence, right? I don't believe sellers have to be extroverts. In
Mhm.
fact, some of the best sellers I've ever met have been what I would call ambiverts, where they're a little bit more in the middle. I
Mhm.
think some of the best sellers learn how to manage disruptive emotions, which can be challenging in a high stake situation. So I think that kind of not too high, but not too low kind of person can generally do the job. I think you have to have a lot of curiosity. That's where you get into, oh, I get to see I get a peek under the hood of what, somebody else is doing. And then you have to be able to connect those dots. So I think you have to be pretty smart.
Mhm.
So I think to a great extent, a lot of really good coaching can help people elevate all of those qualities. So I'm leaning more towards they can be developed. The one thing that I have never been able to crack the code on, and I used to try, um, and that was for motivation. I As a leader, you get people to the 20, 15, maybe even the 5 yard line. And in the old days, I'd say, oh, I'm going to drag them over the goal line. I can do it. And I've learned I can't. And there
Mhm.
are some people that just either can't or won't see a way forward.
Mhm.
And it's not my job as the leader to drag them over the goal line. That just doesn't do anybody any good. So the motivation, I guess, the will has to
Mhm.
be there. If you have the will, I think you can easily do the job.
You're so right about that. In managing salespeople, looking at the great ones and the ones that don't necessarily pan out within our company, you're right. The motivation, even the discipline or the desire to like every day wake up and do this job over and over and over again, continue the follow up. It's hard and it's a certain temperament that's required to be able to do that. And you're right; it's a wide spectrum of people, from very extroverted to very introverted, who can be in sales, but that extra X factor of doing this every day, that's hard to teach.
Well, and I also think you brought up a good point around you said something about in your organization. I like to think of uh, each of these organizations are similar to a football team, right?
Hmm.
They're everybody coming in to interview with you. They're probably pretty professional, right? Same
Yes.
with me. They come in and they're professionals.
Yes.
My job on the hiring side is to really be clear about our system that we have, because if you're Tom Brady, you were great, right, as a New England Patriot, but you might not be good as a LA Charger.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he's not a professional.
Yeah.
It just means my system might not be the fit. And so, as the hiring manager, I spend a lot of time thinking about, is this person going to fit in the system we have here? My system is the system. It doesn't mean it's good or bad, and it's not mine; it's my company's. It it it's getting that match. That's where the magic happens. So that's a two-way street, right? It's not just, does the candidate have the skills? It's, does the candidate have the skills, and is the system we have here conducive to supporting those skills and amplifying what that person brings to the table so that we both win?
No doubt. No doubt. What about in terms of managing people? What is your philosophy? You mentioned that you're managing about a team of 20 people. That's a significant size, significant amount of people. What is your philosophy towards that?
Well, I have 5 direct reports, and they're my frontline sales managers,
Okay.
and I put a ton of credence and, uh, passion behind those 5 leaders, because it isn't gonna happen,
Hmm.
uh, in the market if those 5 people aren't lockstep, uh, coaching, developing. We don't have a sink or swim kind of company. We really do everything we can to help develop and create a learning culture so that people feel okay to raise their hand and say, "Hey, have you guys thought about, have we tried it this way?" Or, "Hey, we've tried this 5 different times and it's not working. Here's what the customer is saying." And we need a way to take that back to corporate that doesn't make it sound like sales can't sell, right? It's, hey, here's the feedback we've received. How do we tweak what we're doing, or tweak the product, or do something different to answer that feedback? So it's a learning culture, supporting my frontline sales leaders, and I would say, you know critical feedback and being okay with feedback. Like, everybody should be okay with feedback. And, I'll tell you, for a long time, that was probably one of my biggest weaknesses is feedback, because early in my career, and you'll appreciate this. You were
Hmm.
probably a straight A student coming up out of school. Don't tell me
Hmm.
if you were or weren't, but I bet you were.
Okay.
And you were always told how great you were and everything was good, and,
Yeah.
maybe you were an athlete and you
Hmm.
you had some good wins, and then you started your career and things were really, really good, and everybody said, "Oh, you're great." Well, there comes a time at some point you're gonna have to receive critical feedback, and if you haven't learned how to receive feedback, it can be hurtful. And so that's one of the ways you have to think about, do we have to be open that, hey, in this environment here at Custom Culinary, we really like to seek feedback. We're going to talk about what worked, where we might have some gaps and some things we might want to try differently next time, and we do it in a respectful way. Um, because it helps elevate the whole team. And it's not an easy thing to do. And it's probably was one of my weaknesses. I have salespeople, though, that are like, tell me, give me the full, you're not going to offend me. I want to know, I want to grow. And I mean, I hear that from some of my salespeople, and I'm just like, oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
because they've made it about as easy as they can for us to provide them with that feedback. And then there's others that maybe were like me, that didn't get a lot of feedback coming up, because we were meeting expectations and getting promoted quickly. And that's more of a learning. And so there's a way to talk through that as well. And I know that from personal experience. So it's really fun working with people, though, isn't it?
It really
I
is.
love people. You
Yeah.
can't be a leader and not love people. And I think you have to love them for all um, their good and their bad and their warts and their pimples and their
Mm-hmm.
quirks. And I like to say at Custom Culinary, all characters are welcome. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want a cookie cutter sales force, because I really do believe diversity of people and thought is what makes this so much fun.
That's so true. If you look far into the future for your career, what is something that you want to accomplish but have not yet accomplished?
Ooh, probably right now, what's on my mind the most is how do we how do we impact the food industry in such a way that enables us to support both human health and planetary health. And so the sustainability piece. And if you look at the standard American diet, and some of the foods we sell might not be as nutritious as they could be, and they certainly, there's right, wrong, or indifferent, a lot of different aspects and uh, pushes and pulls with respect to agriculture and the impact on the environment. But I think there's an amazing opportunity for all of us to gather around a table and eat in a way that is both delicious, healthy, and sustainable for everybody. So from folks that experience food insecurity and might be malnutritioned through that, to people that might be overnourished, and the burden, if you will, of some of our health conditions like obesity and heart disease and things of that nature. I think there's a real opportunity for the food industry to maybe change a little bit. And I think chefs are at the heart of that. In the hands of a talented chef, vegetables are delicious. So it doesn't matter if you follow a vegan diet, an omnivore diet, a paleo, or a keto. I think everybody knows that eating a plant rich diet and eating a little differently than what we've been doing in the past, it's a tweak. It's not, I think sometimes people get overwhelmed by what kind of has to happen by 2030 or 2050. Why don't we think about ways, because eating is uniquely human. Again, technology is pervasive. Everybody's worried about AI and the algorithms out there. Eating is uniquely human, and how we connect. What an opportunity for us as an industry to have these conversations amongst ourselves as industry leaders, as well as with our customers. And that's something that I think is kind of got me excited about the next few years.
Amazing. Laura, thank you so much. This has been an incredible conversation, and one that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people. And I really love your viewpoints on the industry, on sales, on people. It's inspiring. So I really thank you for, again, taking time to come on here and share your story and being vulnerable. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.